Excited about being 1-0. Feels good to get that first win, and excited about being at home for our first home game. So those are two things looking forward to as well. Excited about the way our kids played. So it's a process of getting better every day. So that's what we did today at practice, and ready to keep this thing rolling. Questions?
Mike New was coaching quarterbacks in New Orleans last year. I mean, what did you see from tactically how he approached the game for his first college coaching game, I guess, Georgia State?
Well, first of all, I thought they did a great job of overcoming early adversity. You could kind of tell that they were running a new system, offensively, and had some issues in the beginning, but they did a great job of just staying with it and making adjustments and basically taking what Georgia State was giving them, not letting their guys get rattled, and they stayed the course and physically pounded them in the second half, which was impressive. So I think for his first coaching debut, it was a great job by him and his staff. So you can tell they're well coached, much improved on the offensive line from what I saw, very physical. So his players are buying in, which that's what you want. So hats off to him for that.
What did you like the most about your guys after game one? What are the things that really stood out to you and said, that's what we need to look like?
Yeah, I think number one, I was really excited about how hard they played, and I told them before, I said, I don't care about making mistakes. It's going to happen. I want you to play your tails off and tackle. And so I felt like at times we missed some tackles that I wasn't pleased with that, but the effort was there. And you can do it. If you're flying the football and playing hard for each other together, then you got a chance defensively. And so to me, that was a good sign. It was a good sign.
Have you ever spiked a hat before?
I haven't. And my wife asked me what I was thinking, and I said I really wasn't. It's usually just a reaction, I guess. So, but yeah, that's first. That's the first. So spontaneous, I guess.
The fourth quarter and what you did in that fourth period to kind of dominate the play at that point, offensively and defensively, is that something that the coaches have put an emphasis on finishing games this year?
Absolutely. One of our goals is to win the fourth quarter, and it's stated on our goal board, and made a big deal about finishing. Finishing the game, finishing the half, finishing series, and I think that that was another real positive from the game was we had a situation 2 minutes to go in the second quarter. They got the ball, and they had 2 timeouts left, and we've had. We've addressed that with our players about that's when you have to rise up defensively and get off the field. And obviously, you don't want to give up a touchdown. We didn't want to give up a field goal at that point. And so that was a huge finish of the half. And then you get to the fourth quarter, we're down 13-12. And I told them on the side, I said, guys, we win the fourth quarter, we win the game. We were down by a point. And so, there's absolutely a point of emphasis with that. And that's what great teams do. And I thought both sides of the ball complement each other well in that fourth quarter. And the thing, too, is we sold our guys on this. We don't really care, what the offense is doing or not doing. And we don't want to rely on that defense. That's our mindset. We can't rely on that. We obviously they're going to do a great job. But that can be a crutch for defense, And one thing here, our offense has scored a lot of points over the years. And you can kind of sometimes, they'll go score again. And we can't think that way. When it was 10-12, we told our guys, they don't score another point, we win. And that's the way you got to think. And that was in the second quarter, in the third quarter, And so that's the approach you have to have. And so getting in that fourth quarter, you got to have that mindset of finishing. And those things don't just change, overnight. You start building them in practice. But then you start, when it happens in a game, you have a chance to be in the fire, be in the moment, and see how they respond to that coaching and that whole mentality. That was encouraging to see us finish as a team. So that was a good thing.
Coach Wilson mentioned when speaking about Marcin Ball the other night, he said that obviously blew coverage on that second play of the game and led to that big game. But he liked the response, he liked the comeback. Is that really what you look for the most?
You do, because he's young. and he's going to make mistakes. And all of our guys are young in this system, and that's one thing about college football. You don't have any preseason games, so you go from practice to everything counting, and so you want to see how a guy's going to respond when he makes a mistake. He blows the coverage, he misses a tackle. Is he going to hang his head, feel sorry for himself, or is he going to bow up? And that very next play, Marcelino just absolutely bowed up, smoked the guy that tried to block him, and then made the tackle. So that's a great sign for him and his maturity. Even though he's young in age, he obviously played bigger than that. And he made some other mistakes, later in the game too. But that's what you want to see your guys do is bounce back and be mentally tough.
Younger guys in general, Coach Wilson talked about Ashawn Riggins, some of the, maybe not necessarily freshmen, but some of the less experienced guys on the defensive line. Do you feel like for sort of first games in the spotlight for some of those guys, they did well?
Yeah, I do. When you go back and you watch, and once again, it's about, effort, and then the next step is the technique, and even though guys, haven't played before, this is their time, we had a whole new group of D linemen that really lacked game experience, and so getting those guys on the field in those moments and seeing how they respond was very encouraging. And we played a lot of guys. We played a lot of guys at all three levels, but especially in the defensive line, and we're going to have to, and so just being able, and Coach Hagan's done a great job with that group, and the other thing that excited me from the game was just we really didn't play that well in my mind. I didn't feel like we did. We made a lot of mistakes. We made some big plays that were critical, but as far as going through and looking at it, we have so much areas we can get better at, and we will. And so that's it's encouraging. And I said it to the guys on the field right as the game was over, and then obviously went back and watched the film and confirmed, obviously there was a lot of things there to get cleaned up. So we'll get those young guys, get them reps and get better.
Talk about secrets. I saw a play where Tigre missed a tackle out on the flat, but got up, pursued, and then actually made the tackle.
He did.
He missed the tackle.
You get a minus plus, yeah.
Talk a little bit, and then he was disappointed. You could see him gesture that he was upset he missed the initial tackle. Then pretty soon he's getting a pick six. So talk a little bit about that sequence and what it tells you about it.
Yeah, I think, if I had to, we have several guys that I would say are extremely bought in, and he's one of them. And I think that play right there, exemplifies that. He was playing super hard. He over-pursued. He missed the tackle, but he didn't even flinch. He got right up, and he flew to the football, made the play. But he was frustrated with himself because he wanted to make the tackle the first time and not give up those extra yards. But he is totally bought into what we've been selling to these guys defensively, and as a culture that we want, an expectation, a standard that we're going to play to. And that's why you can, sometimes just people look at the score or how many, whatever stats you might have. But to me, it's about how you play. And so we can play a lot better. That's exciting. But these guys know, we're not going to settle for that. It's not about, just, holding this many or that many yards. We're going to play to this standard of creating takeaways and playing hard and playing with great technique. And obviously those things are going to create the result that we want. And so, he gets that, and so I appreciate his leadership and how hard he plays and how hard he practices. And that's what it's going to take, and getting enough guys like him that have that same sense of urgency all the time. And I think that's what you saw in that play.
You guys left IU pretty well on the ground, and Ball State ran for a lot of yards on the ground last week. Just kind of what are the keys to limiting the run game in your defense?
Yeah, when you watch them play, like I said earlier, they're really, really physical up front. Their offensive line is they're older guys. They haven't all of them necessarily played a lot of snaps starting, wise, but they have played, and they are a lot of redshirt seniors, redshirt juniors, so 4 and 5 year guys, and so they do a great job getting off the football, and you can tell that's their identity. That's what they want. That's what they went to, and things kind of started going, the wrong direction. And so, for me, that's the challenge to our guys, because from day one, you want your defense to know we're going to stop the run. That's our number one, objective is to stop the run. And our defense is built that way, even though I believe we're a multiple system that can adjust to spreads and that style. But it doesn't matter. We're going to stop the run. And so they run the ball extremely well, and they did. And that's why they won, on Friday. So it's going to be a big challenge for us to be able to be stressed more. FIU had, a history of being more of a passing team, and that was definitely what their strength was. So obviously this is a team that hangs their hat on. They got two really good running backs and a good line and big tight ends that block well. So and they got receivers that can hurt you as well. So that's going to be a big challenge for us, and we got to take the next step, in my mind, of being able to stop a running team from doing what they do best.
What coaches talk about, coaches talk about, practice and then, okay, who does it when the lights come on?
Yeah.
Did anybody show you something when the lights came on that you hadn't yet seen in practice from them?
I don't know if there was anybody that I hadn't seen in practice. I mean, you take a guy like Sean Riggins, who hadn't done it, in college. You don't really know how he's going to respond. We all felt that Marcelino was a guy that is going to be a good player here after he showed up and did some great things in fall camp and over the summer. And he didn't disappoint. He rose up as well. But Sean was one that, just still, I was really impressed with what he didn't look like a true freshman out there. And that's a position we need some guys to step up. So I was really encouraged by him. So I think that was one. And I think even, Niall Sykes is a guy that, he showed up on the stats. I'm going to challenge him. He's a guy that he can make plays for us, and we need him to do that consistently. And I just want him to play hard every snap. He's a guy that's where he needs to focus on it, and we've talked to him about that. Face to face, man to man, and so. But he was one that he hadn't done it in a game, but he was productive, and we need more of that from him.
Quick follow-up on Sean, was that like a corner blitz where he made the big
It was.
play?
Mm-hmm.
He had to go all the way.
Sure, I mean, he ran about 50 yards, and now, that being said, we got another guy that didn't do his job that made him have to run further. It should have been a sack, but the guy that's supposed to set the edge did not, and so he had to run him another 25 yards to get to him, but heck of an effort. And matter of fact, we used that. We showed that to the entire team the next day to show, hey, this is a true freshman that was playing with fanatical effort and did not quit and dove and made the play, and it was a big third down stop for us. So things like that are what you want to see, because once again, that's about buy-in.
Not just get takeaways, but score points on them.
Yeah.
One, how gratifying was it that you generated in essence 16 points? But then how, I don't want to say likely is it to sustain that, but how hard is it, how key is it to sustain that type of at least effort?
Yeah, the effort you have to. The takeaways, yes. Scoring on defense, I mean, that's, it's hard to do, and I know it had not happened here in a very, very long time, and just because it's that challenging of a thing to accomplish. But when you can do that, I think the most we had in a year was 7, in the season, and so I expect more. I do, but I think those are the result of playing a certain way. When you're playing your tail off and when you're flying to the football and you're executing the defense, they're going to be created. And we play some vision coverages at times and mix those up to where we should be able to see the ball thrown. And if it's thrown a little high, we should be, if you're playing certain coverages, you may not see the ball like that because you're playing man or matching up, and we try and mix those up. So I do expect us to score on defense, but yeah, you can't sit here and say, hey, that's what we're going to do every week, but when you score on defense, your chances to win a game go way up, and it just has a way of deflating the opponent and elevating your entire team, So that's why we emphasize scooping and scoring. We'll fall on the ball if it's in space, but anything out, we're gonna take that chance of keeping that ball alive and picking it up and running with it. And we're big on teaching that. We talk about that all the time, and it was just neat to see it come to life in game 1. So that's why I was so excited. Just because I know how big that was, because we've been making such a huge deal about takeaways, and getting those are huge, but then turn them into touchdowns is how you win games. So that was big for our entire team.
Marcelino, he's your second leading tackler in game 1 right out of the gate. What makes him ready to make plays right now, not just get on the field?
I think he's fearless. He came here. I'll never forget the very first team activity that we did. It was our team building component of it, where we bring in a group that takes our team and does some things with them. And he'd been here for probably 2 days, and they asked for a guy he just literally just jumped out there to do something physical in front of the whole group, didn't even flinch. I mean, most freshmen would just not even, they might take a step back. He literally jumped to the front and went out there and did whatever they asked him to do in front of the whole team. So it just kind of showed you he's wired a little different. He came here to play. He didn't come here to sit back and be a backup. So it's kind of been his approach, and you kind of saw that in him when you're recruiting, but you really don't know till they get here, and then they just embrace it. So I guess I really wasn't that surprised at his performance. I knew he'd make some mistakes because he's young, but I also knew he was, and he's in a position where he's going to be around the ball by our scheme, So he's a great fit for that spot, and he was when we recruited him, and I think that'll continue to be the case.
See somebody you were aware of when you were at South Florida recruiting?
Oh yeah, because we recruited that whole area. We really recruited the whole state of Florida, and then Atlanta. That was the only area that we had outside of Florida, and so yeah, we knew about him. I got some buddies, some other schools were talking about him too. So we thought he was a special player. I think sky's the limit. I think he's a guy that, as young as he is, he's only 17 still, and so to be able to, as long as he stays focused and stays hungry and has a continued high level of preparation and focus, then he can be a very special player, but that's on him.